Coming up on West Side Stories, we look at how a Grand Valley State University sorority is helping out veterans.
And we take an inside look at the growing world of eSports.
Plus, join us as we celebrate the fall season in downtown Holland. All that and more coming up next on West Side Stories.
West Side Stories is produced by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University. Support also comes from the School of Communications. Inspiring thought, perfecting practice.
Welcome to West Side Stories. I'm Preston Donikoski.
And I'm Callie Hubbard.
Veterans Day is fast approaching and some local organizations are busy preparing.
A Grand Valley State University sorority is raising money for troops abroad. Mackenzie Sorrell tells us more about how this organization is helping veterans overseas and here at home.
My fiance is currently deployed in the Middle East, and I think it means a lot that our organizations and other organizations like Campus are supporting our troops.
AOPI dedicated a whole week to raising money and hosting events to help fund care packages to send to 2 soldiers overseas. Dickinson's fiance is one of the soldiers who will receive a care package. She says that he appreciates the support as it makes him feel closer to home.
As a representative of AOPI, we just feel like the military affects all of our lives, and we've had family members that have served, friends that have served, people that are active duty right now.
Quinn says the goal is also to support student veterans at Grand Valley. On Grand Valley's campus alone, there are more than 500 student veterans. AOPI teamed up with an organization on campus called the Student Veterans of America. The club came in to speak to AOPI members about their time serving in the military and the difficulties they have faced transitioning from active duty to college life.
It didn't really feel real. It's definitely for the first 2 to 3 months of me being out. All I did was work, but it still wasn't sure. I still couldn't put my finger on what was missing.
When I got here my freshman year, I literally went home to Detroit every weekend. I had nothing to do. And that was hard because it was hard to make friends because I was 22 years old and most of the kids that I was in school with were 18. It was just hard for us to connect. It was hard for us to hang out and be friends and do the same things.
Casey says that leaving active duty meant leaving behind her friends and starting over. She says it was hard for her to make new friends that she could connect with. In fact, according to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, 41% of veterans are diagnosed with a behavioral adjustment disorder. Grand Valley does have a space here on campus for student veterans to connect with other student veterans. The Student Veteran Lounge is located right here behind me in Kirkhoff on the 2nd floor.
The purpose of the Student Veteran Organization is to have a community of those who are transitioning from military life to civilian life.
And for some veterans, like Casey, finding out about the Student Veterans Organization was the best thing for her.
When I started coming to our Student Veterans Lounge and meeting people and getting more involved, it really gave me that group of friends that now I talk to every day.
Although some veterans have found friends because of this organization, only about 15 out of the 500+ veterans on campus actually utilize the Veterans Lounge. Some of the veterans say that it's because of the location. They say they need a bigger space with a door away from the noise. For the past 3 years, the veterans have gained signatures from hundreds of students petitioning for a new space. So far, they haven't had any luck. The veterans say most people don't realize they still face very similar challenges that other students face too.
We're still college students, so we still struggle with the same things that college students are. We might just have different struggles.
It's a huge transition, so that's why specifically we really wanted to work with the Student Veterans of America Club at GV, so we can help ease their transition, help them with any resources that our influence would be able to provide them.
Every Friday, the Student Veterans of America Club runs a 5K through campus, starting at the Clocktower. They run to bond with each other and to spread awareness of their organization. Several organizations like AOPI joined them this week to walk the 5K and race their own flags too. These organizations wanted to show support for Grand Valley student veterans. The veterans are continuing to make connections in the greater Grand Valley community as they told students to join them in the Veterans Lounge anytime they want.
Supporting veterans can be just as important as supporting those who are serving right now. We all did our part, and we all tried hard to do our part. So, it means a lot to us when people show that they actually care.
AOPI has sent the care packages to the 2 soldiers overseas. They plan to continue this event in the years to come. Reporting from Allendale, I'm Mackenzie Sorrell.
Thanks, Mackenzie. For more information on how you can support our troops and veterans, visit the Student Veterans of America on their Facebook page.
And sticking with GVSU, it doesn't get much more iconic on their campus than the clock tower.
That's right. You might be surprised to find out that clock tower Carillon isn't always set to chime on automatic.
That's right. It's actually a musical instrument being played by a real person. Reporter Devin Deli talks with the woman who's been playing the Carillon in the clock tower since it was built.
The Cook Carillon Tower in the center of campus is one of the most recognizable landmarks at GVSU, chiming out automatically every 15 minutes as students walk to and from class. The bells inside are part of an instrument called the Carillon, and on certain days, Professor Julianne Vanden Weingard makes the trip up the tower to play the instrument for those below, just as she's been doing since it was built nearly 25 years ago.
People often ask, how long have you been playing, or why, how did you start? And I always say, you don't play the Carillon if you don't have one.
Professor Vanden Weingard started her career at Grand Valley in 1967. When Grand Valley got the Cook Carillon in 1994 and the Beckering family Carillon in 2000, she adapted her role on campus and decided to learn the new instrument. Over time, she's become recognized as the sole Carilliner of GVSU, and today, she continues to teach the instrument to any students who are willing to learn.
The learning curve was definitely pretty steep for me anyways, just because I'm not a music major. I do have like music background, but nothing really to the level of what was expected, I guess.
The unique instrument is somewhat similar in structure to the piano, but instead of playing keys that hit strings with a hammer, the musician uses their fists to hit rods that work with a cable system to resonate the bells above. In this age of electronics, the Carillon cranks out music using a technology that's over 500 years old. But aside from the mechanics, the Carillon provides another challenge for students learning it: the audience.
It's a lot more nerve-wracking than people think. Just because the Carillon, it's such a public instrument. It's pretty much every time you go up to play, you're going up to perform. Because there's no way to perform in the Carillon that nobody will hear it.
Because it is such a public instrument, Professor Vanden Weingard says that she needs to take into account what those down below want to hear, even more so than any other instrument. She chooses the music that she plays very carefully, and her main goal is always to bring something special to life on campus.
You want it to be a nice addition. It's like a nice sunset or a sunrise or a pretty bird that happens to fly over campus while you're on your way between between classes. You want it to be part of the ambient, part of the enjoyment of being, you might say, out here in the country, although it's not as much in the country as it was.
It's clear that she's left a legacy over the decades. She spent 12 years as the chair of the music department, and she's currently serving her second year as president of the Guild of Carilliners of North America. However, she says that this will likely be her last year on campus.
It's at that point now where it just feels like, I think it feels like it would be good, I think so.
After being at Grand Valley for more than 50 years, she says that it's time for her to retire. It's clear that she'll be missed, though, and her role won't be an easy one to fill.
Grand Valley will always have my heart because, gosh, I've enjoyed the time here. I've known lots and lots of wonderful people.
She just has that really kind of charming charisma to her personality, and always wants to know how you're doing, is always willing to help. And I think really just her coworkers will miss that about her too.
Yeah, I thought last year as I pushed open the door to Kirchhoff, I thought, good grief, I was full-time in '67 and last year was 17. I think that's 50. I think that's long enough to, to push a door open.
One day soon she'll open those doors and close them for the last time, but campus will always echo with the memories of her and her music. Reporting from Allendale, I'm Devin Deli.
Professor Vanden Weingart has been talking with her colleagues about who might replace her, but she says any final decisions are a long way off.
I was in Holland a couple of weeks ago for the annual Fall Fest and had a chance to meet a couple of professional pumpkin carvers. If you haven't had the chance to get your pumpkin carved yet, maybe this next story will inspire you.
I started this about 45 minutes ago, actually. So I'm 45 minutes in. It'll take me about an hour and a half, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours on each pumpkin.
Professional pumpkin carver Ryan Roth is 45 minutes into creating his masterpiece of the night. He's creating a Charlie Brown jack-o'-lantern display. Roth came to downtown Holland to carve pumpkins for the annual Fall Fest. It's an event where families can get together and partake in festive activities such as hay rides, food tasting, shopping, and much more. The two-day event also invited nationally recognized pumpkin carvers to show off their art skills in the streets. Chad Hartson, a previous Food Network alum featured on Cupcake Wars, has been in the sculpting business for quite a while now.
Well, we are actually out here with Rock on Ice, which is an ice sculpting company from Columbus that does seasonally, they do pumpkin carvings and that in the month of October, and so we've brought pumpkins all for the storefronts with logos and that displayed on throughout the streets of Holland here. There's some pre-done displays like this one that we just got done. I just finished doing.
The company recreated pumpkins to match each business in the city. Other professional displays were found on 8th Street in Holland.
I started 20 years ago. I went to the University of Akron for culinary school. And so I went there to be a chef. I learned how to do fruit and vegetable carvings and ice carvings. Just kind of took things to the next level. When I left college, I started the ice sculpting business and started doing other forms of sculpture work.
For some families, Fall Fest is a part of a yearly tradition. But for the Growth family, this is their first time attending Fall Fest.
Yeah, we wanted to come down and see what Fall Fest was all about. We've got a 1-year-old in the group, so we thought it would be fun to get him down here and see what it's all about too.
Thanks for having us once again. This is my second year here, and I know a couple of the other guys have been here before, so it's nice to be back into town. You guys have a great place.
Fall Fest is not only known for its festive activities, but it's a time for families to get back together as a start to the holiday season. From West Side Stories, I'm Kelly Hubbard.
Now, I heard that Preston here is a big fan of Halloween. So, Preston, what did you think about those professional pumpkin carvers? Did that inspire you?
They have skill beyond what I can comprehend, but as far as pumpkins go, I'll eat them in pie form, but that's about it for my love of Halloween. This next story, however, is much more up my alley. It's about one of the fastest growing professional sports in the United States, but it's also one that you may never have heard about. Elliot Perpich has more on the rise of eSports.
There is a sports competition happening right now, but it's not the kind of sports you may think.
It was a lot of adrenaline, especially when you do something sick and it's like you're just freaking out on stage and it's just a rush of adrenaline, but it was an exciting experience.
Nate Klein, known in the gaming world by his gamer tag NATO, was once a nationally ranked professional esports player for the game Halo 3. Another player named Aiden Fallon, or Dog2, has his sights set on joining a professional team for the free-to-play game League of Legends.
Recently, I played for 32 hours straight in order to try and reach a pretty high ranking within the game before a certain deadline.
Both players have dedicated a lot of time to their games. Halo 3 came out in 2007, but Klein says he was all in years before that.
This goes all the way back to like 2005, 2006. Halo 2 came out and my friend's older brother bought it and we instantly got hooked by it, and we've heard of this tournament in Chicago and we're like, this is really cool, let's go. We're going to be in Chicago anyways for this weekend. So we're like 10 years old and we're going to this tournament in Chicago, and we all fell in love. Like my entire friend group, there was like 8 of us. We fell in love.
Halo is a first-person shooter in which 2 teams compete to see who can get more eliminations. League of Legends is a free-to-play multiplayer online battle arena. In League, 2 teams battle to destroy each other's nexus or home base. In both games, rankings are decided by the amount of matches that you win.
The end of the season is coming up for League, and pretty much what happens is they stop the ranked season and they record everyone's ranking. So I want to try and be within the top 50 of the US before the ranked season ends. And so that way pro teams, they look at that and they see that you're high rated and you'll potentially get picked up.
Every fall, the year's top teams from across the globe compete for the chance to win millions of dollars. Fallon says these are the best players in the world, and also some of his teachers.
I would watch a professional player and I would just copy everything to the T what they were doing. But eventually, over time, I became just better in general.
The World Championships for League of Legends are currently being played in Seoul, Korea, and Fallon says you have to sacrifice a lot to get there.
As someone that wants to go professionally in League, you have to keep on playing every day. So I play, on average, probably 14 hours a day.
Aside from the stress of keeping up, Klein says that people weren't always the best when it came to sportsmanship.
Back in the day when I would play, if you were being toxic on stage, nothing would happen. There were no repercussions. They would just let you do it whether you're live on camera or not.
Toxic is a term that describes players who are overly rude, give up too easily, or go into a game without the intention of winning. A toxic player is one that hurts the team instead of helping it, or just ruins the experience for everybody in general.
I stopped playing Halo competitively in Halo Reach because I was getting a lot of hate, especially online, just because I was a younger kid, and that was like kind of when more and more people were starting to get into the scene. And so it was a larger crowd, and there's a lot of people who didn't really know who I was. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty toxic, but a lot of people were like sending me like actual legitimate death threats, and that's why I stopped playing.
Since then, Fallon says the gaming community has come a long way. Although he encounters some toxicity here and there, he says that at higher levels, most League players know each other.
Every time you play a game, it's pretty much like you play with or against professional players, and you can add them.
Not only has Fallon gotten to chat with some of his heroes, he's also found a network of support online.
With like real life friends from high school, I'd say more of them have like kind of drifted away because I mainly play the game, but you make new friends online, and I've met a lot of people within the game that I've also become friends with in real life, so it's kind of just a different community you put yourself into.
Fallon has also found support right in his own home.
Me and my parents are still close. My dad knows a lot about League. He's actually the one that showed it to me, so I can always tell him about it. And my mom's interested in like the pro scene. She'll ask how Cloud9 is doing, how the other pro teams are. So yeah, we have a good relationship. They're all on board, and they're my #1 supporters for doing this.
Fallon says the enterprise as a whole is getting more supportive. Klein, on the other hand, is still a bit skeptical.
You still see it in like, when you're playing a video game, you're always going to see it. It's like sports too. You see, when you're watching football and you see people yelling at each other's face masks and stuff like that. And they get fined for that in the NFL, and people are getting fined for that in eSports.
So far in the world's competition, 16 athletes have been sanctioned for toxic behavior on and off the field.
You see stuff on Twitter too. There's like professional eSports athletes now where they could tweet something and get fined, or they'd lose a sponsorship or something, and it's just getting to that point where it's so serious that being toxic just isn't worth it anymore. And it never was worth it in the first place.
4 of the players were fined for $1,000 or more. Both Klein and Fallon agree that developers are cracking down on toxicity. Although poor sports might always exist, Fallon says he's dreamt of this for a long time and plans to pursue it for as long as he can.
Actually, really early on, I kind of decided this is what I wanted to do. I remember watching one of my first tournaments just online on Twitch, and just seeing that people were able to compete and make money through this. I was like, this is actually something I want to pursue. So from an early age, I knew this is one of the paths in life I wanted to take.
Twitch is an online video streaming service on which players can broadcast their screen so others can watch. Viewers can subscribe to channels by paying them a monthly fee. Fallon says the better you are, the more that people will watch you, which is why he dedicates all his time to improving.
I went to community college, and then I dropped out a semester in just because it was really hard for me to balance school and playing the game so much at the time. I found myself, skipping class, and barely sleeping just to like keep on playing the game, and I eventually felt like it wasn't good for my health, so I just made a decision that I wanted to do this for full time.
Through coaching and playing in tournaments, Fallon makes enough money to pay for his own food and travel when necessary. Klein also coaches and plays in tournaments, but most of his free time is spent playing games leisurely. Gaming has become more than a hobby for some people, and although nobody's tackling each other, the competition is just as real. In Kent County, I'm Elliot Perpich.
And if you're interested in esports after watching that story, you can watch esports professionals go at it online free of charge.
The baseball season is over in Detroit, but maybe the World Series has piqued your interest in one of America's favorite pastimes. Eli Ong traveled to Comerica Park a few weeks ago to visit one of the unsung heroes of baseball, the Bat Boy.
The fall season rages on as students embark on the back half of their semesters. At this point in the year, many reflect on how easy life was over the summer. One senior at GVSU, Jacob O'Donnell, enjoyed his summer doing something most only dream of. O'Donnell was a bat boy for the Detroit Tigers.
Well, I'm going on my 5th season now as a bat boy for the Detroit Tigers. I got the job originally through a friend who still works here, actually. His cousin is my boss, John Nelson. He runs the visiting clubhouse, and yeah, that's how I got involved in it. People ask me all the time, how'd you get that job?
Some may think that being a bat boy is easy, but that's far from the truth. Jake has many responsibilities, most of which may go overlooked by the common observer.
So today, for instance, I got in at 3 o'clock and we set up the dugout, and we then went out to the bullpen, stocked up the bullpen with drinks and seeds and gum and whatnot for the players to enjoy throughout the game. Then I come back, we do the water coolers, take care of Gatorade and all that.
The responsibilities don't end there. O'Donnell's boss, John Nelson, says there are many more details in the day-to-day routine of running the visitors' clubhouse and dugout at Comerica Park.
We basically take care of the teams that come and play the Tigers. Teams will come in for a 3-game series, and they'll come in the night before the series starts. We meet the truck down here, we unpack their gear, load it into the lockers, and set it all up so when they come in for the game the next day, everything's ready for them. We feed them, take care of them, I clean the clubhouse, and I provide bat boys for the games, which Jaco is part of.
Pre-game duties start once O'Donnell and crew finish setting up the bullpen and dugout. Bat boys then begin helping the visiting team conduct batting practice, field fly balls and grounders, and other activities to warm up before the game.
I should first say I do BP, batting practice for the players, and I go out there and catch the fly balls and return the balls to the pitcher. So that's one of my favorite parts. It's pretty cool.
Once the game starts, O'Donnell says he retrieves foul balls, bats, and other equipment in order to keep the game running smoothly. What some may wonder is, how exactly does Jake both keep his job and attend classes?
It hasn't interfered with me too bad, considering it's mostly during the summer. But that being said, we're during the school year right now. I had to drive all the way from Grand Rapids today to Detroit. So in order to be here by 3, I kind of had to hustle a little bit.
O'Donnell says that he's always enjoyed the job, despite having to commute back and forth across the state of Michigan, and has gained quite a few fond memories of working as a bat boy in the Tigers organization.
I've seen players freak out. I've seen ejections. I've seen walk-off home runs. I was on the field when Rajay Davis hit a walk-off grand slam. And if you slow down the footage, you can actually see me as he's rounding to go to first base. And so that's really cool. And it's just, I've had a lot of great experiences.
O'Donnell says his greatest experience as a bat boy came when he got to meet a player most Tigers fans had become quite familiar with over the years.
For a project that I was doing for school at Grand Valley, I wanted to interview him. So, fun fact, I gave Torrey Hunter his last interview in Detroit as a player before he retired. So I kind of like that. I still have it on my phone. It's, you know, it's still in here somewhere.
And I am Eli Ong, reporting for West Side Stories from Comerica Park, signing off.
You might have recognized that bat boy as our very own reporter Jake O'Donnell. Jake says that now that he's retired from baseball, he's looking forward to his next big challenge, graduating from GVSU.
And thanks, Eli, for that story. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for you today. I'm Preston Donikoski.
And I'm Callie Hubbard. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
West Side Stories is produced by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University. Support also comes from the School of Communications, inspiring thought, perfecting practice.